Alright guys, there's been a development here for Overwatch Mobile, so I think this game is getting fairly close to being launched. And actually, you could probably even sort of bet on this launching early next year, or at least at BlizzCon at the latest. So, what has happened is an individual called Walter Kong, who is the general manager of the Overwatch franchise. He was essentially in charge of the entire development of the Overwatch franchise at large. So that's more than just the game that we play. That would be the mobile game. It would be other spin-off games, other assets maybe they're working on, or even other projects. However, Walter Kong, I've never been the biggest fan, because this quote, I mean, this quote, I've put it in so many videos in the past, but I think it sums up the sort of I don't know, the direction that the game was going in those early days. Of course, a lot of this has been repealed and taken back, but check this out. So, during an interview with PC Gamer, this was around the launch of Overwatch 2, they said this: when asked about why Blizzard is putting heroes in the Battle Pass in the first place, Overwatch General Manager Walter Kong said, well, the heroes are the single most engaging content that we have in the game, and as we designed this model, it seemed to be a very strong fit to put those heroes into our new engagement systems. That is the comment of somebody who's out to absolutely rinse as much money as possible. Locking heroes away because they're the highest engagement thing in the game was a terrible idea. Of course, this has all been, as I said, repealed. They've all gone back on this now, and heroes are available as is when they get added to the game. But I think it is kind of like, I'm going to say, like, it gives you an insight into the way that he would conduct business, let's say. Anyway, the news is this, right? So, he has been promoted inside Blizzard. So, Variety is reporting this, saying Blizzard promotes Overwatch boss Walter Kong to head of live games and mobile development. And apparently, he's also still in charge of the Overwatch franchise. So, this is what the article says. Blizzard's promoted Walter Kong, the general manager of its Overwatch video game franchise, to the newly created role of head of development across all live games and mobile titles. And this is what Walter says over on his LinkedIn. Today, I'm happy to share that I'm stepping into a new position at Blizzard as Senior Vice President, Head of Development, Live Games and Mobile, Kong said in a statement posted on LinkedIn. While I will still be leading the overall strategy for the Overwatch franchise, I'll also be excited to be taking on Hearthstone, Diablo Immortal, and Warcraft Rumble. Now, before I carry on with this statement, I think Diablo Immortal is probably still making stupid money, but Warcraft Rumble, I think that is really in the doldrums. I think that game is suffering with a very low player base, and it isn't doing very well. So maybe he's been brought in to try and fix that. I don't know. Maybe you could start selling the heroes behind the paywall, whatever. Anyway, I've got to stop ragging on him for that, because that was years ago now at this point. And as I said, all of that has been sort of... they've gone back on that and got rid of it. Anyway, he says, I'm greatly looking forward to working with these talented teams across a wide range of initiatives, existing and new. Additionally, I am committed to fostering an environment of continuous learning, collaboration, and growth for all of our team members. Then Variety goes on to say, Kong joined Blizzard in 2011, first providing strategy and business support for World of Warcraft, and eventually rising to a member of Hearthstone's senior leadership team. He then left in 2018 to become head of product management, analytics, and business operations at Epic Games. Now, I believe when he was at Epic Games, he was instrumental in implementing their Battle Pass. That was kind of like his main focus. Anyway, Blizzard then bring him back in 2020, and he returns as an executive producer and has served as general manager of the Overwatch franchise since November 21, which obviously, you know, essentially from the launch of Overwatch 2. When I first walked onto the Blizzard campus as an employee in August 2011, I felt awestruck for most of the day, Kong said in his Monday post. It was hard to believe that I had a job working for Blizzard. Even after 14 years, I still have to occasionally pinch myself. I'm honoured and grateful that I've been presented opportunities over these years to collaborate with talented colleagues and make an impact at a company I so love and admire. So I think what this means is, if he's being pulled up from the Overwatch team into a higher role overseeing all mobile games and live service products, I think this is basically saying the Overwatch, that the sort of in-house development of the Overwatch mobile project, whatever that may be, is come to a close, or is very sort of close to ending and no longer requires Walter to oversee it, so he can step into a broader role, which probably indicates we're going to get the launch or the announcement of this very soon. But what I do want to do here, guys, is talk about the actual history of the mobile game, because this has been something that's been rumored for a while, and even years and years ago. Again, I can't substantiate this. These were rumors that were told to me, hearsay, whatever, that there was a type of like XCOM style tactics game being developed, like a turn-based strategy game, like squad combat for mobile, which I think would be pretty cool. But I think now that's obviously not going to be the case. I think it's going to just straight up be the Overwatch experience, but on mobile. Think like what Valorant has done. I guess like recently what Destiny has kind of done, where it's like a light version of the main game, but on mobile. Now, what I want to do is, well, there's a bunch of like sources here we can discuss. So you've got Jason Schreier's book, Play Nice, The Rise and Fall and Future of Blizzard Entertainment, which is quite an interesting read. I wish it went into more depth and detail in the Overwatch sort of situation, but it's got good bits of info in it. I do recommend you pick it up. But actually inside that, he said, Overwatch was led by Walter Kong, who oversaw the regular release of heroes and content for Overwatch 2, as well as new projects like a mobile version of the franchise. But going on from that, which I guess we can say is the first, I don't want to say it's an official mention that mobile is in development, because obviously Jason Schreier's a reporter and he's reporting on based, what he's been told. But he's always been extremely solid when it comes to sources. So you would believe that. But we do know, I mean, I know a mobile game is in development. Like, I don't know how much I can, I don't know how I can just say that without going, I've got evidence, because I don't have evidence, but I've been told a game's been in development for a long time. Right? And there's loads of stuff on the internet that says it's in development. We know a mobile game's in development, right? Anyway, there's more info, right? So over on Esports Insider, they've got actually a pretty good article. I'll link to this in the video description below. But this is the idea of outlets in Asia, in Korea and China, looking to get the rights to Overwatch Mobile. So apparently Nexon has reportedly secured a partnership for Overwatch Mobile. And they say this: the most recent rumors stem from reports claiming that Blizzard was in active search of a developer in Korea to create titles for its StarCraft IP and distribute games related to the Overwatch IP in Korea and Japan. A recent report by Korean outlet MTN has reignited discussions surrounding a potential mobile game, claiming that developers Nexon have successfully landed a partnership with Blizzard Entertainment. In a rough translation, Seo Jung-un, reporter for MTN, said Blizzard offered the rights to develop content using the StarCraft IP and the Korean and Japanese service rights of Overwatch Mobile as a package deal, and bidding for leading game companies in Korea from the fourth quarter of last year. An article by Asia Today also sheds more context into this, alleging that several game development studios in Korea were competing to secure publishing rights from Blizzard Entertainment, mainly eyeing the StarCraft IP. They then go on to say Overwatch Mobile was allegedly already in development. As I said, it has been in development. Overwatch Mobile is not a project that has seemingly come out of the blue either, as reports have shared that Blizzard itself may have at one point been developing the game, though it's unknown when development started or if it's still active. Now, I think in regards to that, I think it is being developed by Blizzard internally. I actually think that some of the elements from King, because Activision Blizzard King, have been working on this as well, but also Blizzard's internal mobile development studio. I mean, I can remember years back talking to the president of Blizzard at the time. He was the president for not very long, let's say, and then he was gone. But he was saying, like, hey, we want to be the Blizzard of mobile game development, which was basically saying, look, if we apply AAA game development tactics to the mobile sphere, we can take over mobile gaming. And of course, they didn't really produce anything apart from Diablo Immortal, which I don't know whether that's really took over mobile gaming. I think it's made a lot of money, but I don't think it's particularly took over mobile gaming, but whatever. The article then goes on to say, how far development has reached for Overwatch Mobile is unclear. However, the article MTN published suggests the game is intended to be part of the MOBA genre. And then they summarise as, is Overwatch Mobile happening? Blizzard has yet to officially announce a mobile title for Overwatch, aside from a few articles online claiming that deals have been made between Blizzard and Nexon, and that the game was in development at some point. Fans have yet to see any gameplay or trailers for the MOBA game. What is apparent is Blizzard's big push in Overwatch content in 2025, so far, including regular updates, stadium, arena mode, the launch, 6v6, blah, 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 blah. We all get that. So could this be what Aaron was talking about when he says there's a massive new thing coming to Overwatch? Could he actually have meant coming to just the Overwatch franchise and not actually the game we're playing? Now, if it is an Overwatch, so here's my take on this. I will not play a clone of the standard version of Overwatch on mobile. To me, that is pointless. I understand, though, there are massive audiences in places like India, Brazil, China, Vietnam, Southeast Asia, all those places where mobile gaming is huge, beyond belief, like absolutely massive. So if you could crack that audience, that would be great for your IP. But what would really intrigue me and what would make me feel like, hey, I'm going to check this out and I'm going to play this, is if it's a spin-off game in a different genre. So if indeed it is a MOBA, I actually would give that a go. If it was a turn-based tactics game, I 100% would give that a go because I love XCOM. That is like one of my favorite games. What do you guys think this could be? It's going to be a thing, and I think this is going to be part of whatever's going to happen next year, whether that's going to be potentially the launch of a Netflix series, an animated series, which could coincide with the mobile launch, which could coincide with major updates coming to the actual game itself. I think, again, this all goes back to it. It looks like a pretty... It feels like the future is bright for Overwatch because we're actually getting... Well, at least for me anyway. I'm getting excited waiting to see what kind of stuff is going to come to the game rather than just sitting there going, oh, you know, the game doesn't go anywhere. All we're waiting for are updates, which are just new skins for Kiriko and Juno. And it's like, well, what else are we going to get? You know, where's the content? But that's not really been the case for a while now. So, this is interesting. Let me know what you think about this in the comments, guys. I think the comments going to be pretty good on this. Would you play an Overwatch mobile? And if you would, what kind of mobile game would you prefer it to be? All right, guys, thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.